Lana Richards and I first met Woody Williams 2 years ago in Gainesville, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any recollection of that at all. We were at the Medal of Honor dinner for the first time, and they introduced someone to come to speak, and it was Woody. And he came to the microphone and he said, "They gave me 5 minutes to speak tonight." And at the time, he said, "I'm 91 years old and I'll speak as long as I want to." And he did. And tonight, Woody, when I get through, you can talk as long as you want to. If, like me, when you know you're going to a special event to see someone special or anything you do, what do we do today? We go to the internet and we look around and we see what we find. Well, I do the same thing, and I did that with Woody Williams. One of the things I noticed the most in the photographs is not about the medal that hangs around his neck, but the smile upon his face. And it's not just a smile that I see, but I can see the laughter and the joy. The laughter and the joy he gets from serving others. It shows in the photographs. Woody is a great ambassador to our veterans, our active military, our Gold Star families, our country, and most of all, our Lord. He served some 35 years as the Congressional Medal of Honor chaplain, and he is a layman in his church today. He established the Hershel Woody Williams Medal of Honor Foundation to honor Gold Star families, and he will always be the first to tell you it's not about him, but all about others. He's a very humble man. On February 23rd, 1945, we're all familiar with a very famous photograph, the one of the soldiers raising the flag on Iwo Jima on Mount Suribachi. Well, Woody Williams was there that day on the island, but he wasn't on that part of the island. He was on another part of the island. And he'd been asked to do an almost impossible task with a 70-pound flamethrower attached to his back. When the order was given, he never hesitated. He never thought about it. He just did it. And on that day, he went far above and beyond the call of duty. On October 5th, 1945, he stood in the White House as President Harry S. Truman placed the Medal of Honor around his neck. I'm the lucky one tonight because I get to stand up here and have the great honor, and I'm oh so proud to introduce to you World War II Medal of Honor recipient, Hershel Woodrow Woody Williams.
Thank you very much. When I receive a warm welcome like that, I try to remember that I received that warm welcome for those who never got to come home. Would you join me again in thanking the Gold Star family members who are here, who gave more than any of us? They gave part of themselves so we could be who we are, where we are, and live in the greatest country on earth. Would you do that? Thank you very much. Thank you. I wear this medal around my neck, not for what I did. I wear it in honor of those Marines who, on that little piece of rock in the Pacific, sacrificed their life so that we, America, could claim the first territory that belonged to the folk who at that time were our enemy. But I wear it specifically for two Marines who on that fateful day that changed my life, February the 23rd, 1945, gave their lives protecting mine. And I always remember my commanding officer, Donald Beck, and 4 other of my fellow Marines who were willing to testify, to verify what took place that day, and thought me, a little old country boy from West Virginia, worthy to wear this medal around my neck. I can never, ever forget that, because without them, it would have never happened. I am from West Virginia, and we talk in a little different language than you guys do. Now, we do use y'all some, not as much as you do. And it wasn't until just recently I learned that when there was more than one, you had to say, y'all. It sounds like you're stuttering, but it's more than one person. But we use words like ain't and holler. I've said that many times. I live in a holler. Lots of folk don't know what a holler is. But it's just between 2 big hills back there that I live. And some of our relatives and relations and folk have never been out of West Virginia. They've never been anywhere. One of our old family members heard that there was an airplane going to Florida every once in a while. It was cheap, and they would get down for a day or so and then come back. And he had heard an awful lot about Florida because there's some people, go to Florida for winter and then come back in the spring. You never see them until they get back. And he had heard about that. He thought it must be a wonderful place. So he went to the airport, walked in the airport, and here stood a security guard. And he said to him, I want to get a ticket ride on that plane out there that goes to Florida. Security guard says, well, you're going to have to see that young lady over there at the counter. So he walked over to her and he said, I want to get a ticket, get on that plane out there so I can go to Florida. She says, do you have any ID? He says, about what? We've forever heard about Texas. They always say it's bigger, better, flatter, and all of those things I'm sure are true, but my experience here has been one of those that maybe you all don't think about. Since we've been here by the folk on this post, they have treated us like we were royalty. And I don't know hardly how to act on that condition. But we certainly thank Ann and Lana and all of those for inviting us here. And giving us this opportunity that we might share some thoughts with you. There are many things in our country that we every day take for granted. And one of those, of course, that I like to mention because my existence, or at least my condition, rests with them, and that's our law enforcement officers. You know, if somebody's breaking into my house, I'm not going to call my neighbor. I'm going to call one of those guys in uniform. I want him to come. And I love to tell stories about law enforcement officers. We have a police academy about 15 miles from my home, and I'm up there quite often. And I've had an opportunity to speak to those individuals who eventually, upon graduation, are going to put their life on the line every day they leave that home. So this fellow, from the time he was a little boy, he wanted to be a law enforcement officer. And he prepared himself for that. So when he reached 21, he applied and they accepted him and he went to the academy. Because of his dedication and desire and commitment, he graduated first in his class, number one. Then, as a reward for his achievement, we got a couple new cruisers in the state police. We don't get those very often. But they got a couple new cruisers, and as a reward, they awarded him one of the brand new cruisers. But with that award went the dirty duty. He had to work at night. Had to be on duty, nighttime. And they told him that there is a place out in the country that has a four-way stop sign. And people are ignoring it because there's nobody around. There's no lights there. They just run through the stop sign. They don't pay any attention to it. And he said, somebody's going to get killed out there, so I want you to go out there tonight and catch those people who are running those stop signs. Can you imagine being on duty for the first time and sitting in a police cruiser wondering, what in the world is going to happen to me? And suddenly this car comes speeding through, exceeding the speed limit, ran the stop sign, and he wondered, should I chase it? He didn't know how many people were in it. He couldn't see that. But he had taken an oath, as every person serving this country in the armed forces takes an oath. He had taken his oath. So his oath said, you got to do this. So he pulled out behind the car, chased it down the road with the lights flashing and the siren blowing, and it just kept on going, and finally it stopped. And he got out of his cruiser, walked up to the car, but he didn't approach the window of the driver. He went to the back of the car. With his big old flashlight, he shined it in the back to see how many people might be in there and who was driving. And he shined it on the back of the head of the lady driving the car. He ran to his cruiser as hard as he could go, jumped on the radio and began yelling at the dispatcher, send me backup, send me backup. And he said, what do you need backup for? He said, my life's in danger. He said, do they have a gun? He said, no, I don't know about that, but my life's in danger. And he said, why would your life be in danger? I just stopped my mother-in-law. But there are others that we really take for granted, and of course, our armed forces is one of those. Our first responders is another group. Our firefighters are another group. We sort of take those people for granted, and we never, or at least if we ever do, it's very seldom, walk up to one of those individuals and just thank them for what they do. Because they never know from day to day what is going to happen in their life. Why would a fireman or a fire lady run in a burning house to try to rescue somebody that they never met, they didn't know? But they do those sorts of things. For 15 years, I attempted to get a Gold Star memorial for mothers. I had a boyhood friend. We walked back and forth to school every day. Our school was a little over a mile from our homes. There was no bus service, and we didn't have any snow days either. Never heard of that. But we walked back and forth every day to school for 7 years. He was 1 grade ahead of me. So Leonard and I were real good friends. And I wanted Leonard to go in the Marine Corps with me, but he was a lover of airplanes. Don't have any idea where that came from, but he liked that. In fact, his daddy, he had a little kiddie car. There are people in this room who do not know what a kiddie car is. But it's a little 3-wheel bike that you have to pedal. And he had one of those, so his daddy built him a propeller that he could put on the front of his little tricycle and go up and down the driveway, pedaling real hard and fast, and that propeller would just keep it going. Well, he was just crazy about that. So he went to the Air Force, I went to the Marine Corps. Our paths never crossed again. Leonard became a nose gunner in a B-24 in the Pacific. A NACAC gun hit the nose of that airplane, severely wounded Leonard, and 4 days later, he gave his life. The Brown family had 2 in the military. Brother Brownie was also in the Army. And in their window, they had hung 2 blue star flags to say that this home has 2 people serving in the war. One of those stars turned gold when Leonard lost his life. My mother had 3 hanging in her window. Fortunately, all of those stars stayed blue because we all got home. But when I got home, I went to visit the Browns because I knew nothing about Leonard's life. And that's when I learned, and they thought, that Leonard was missing in action. All they had at that time was a telegram delivered by a taxi driver to their home that said, "We regret to inform you that your son Leonard died on a certain day." That's all they had. No facts, nothing to explain to them what happened to Leonard. They buried him in the Philippines in one of the Philippine cemeteries, and it was 4 years later before someone identified Leonard. And then they eventually brought Leonard home. That stuck with me through the years. So I began working on trying to get a Gold Star memorial for mothers, because we as a society, at that point in time, had never recognized even Gold Star Dad. We never used that term. We didn't say anything about any other relative except mother. Naturally, we all know that mother is the closest person to us. She's the one that kissed our hurt and made it well. You know, she's the one that generally prayed for us all the time that we were gone. Never knowing in World War II where we were or what we were doing, we were just gone. So mothers were certainly very, very important in a community. I had traveled all over trying to find funds to do a Gold Star family or a Gold Star Memorial Monument in our nation's capital. Now I'm told that we have 1,100 memorials and monuments in the District of Columbia, but we do not have one that honors Gold Star mothers or Gold Star families. But I was invited to speak to a group of senior citizens. I called them old folk. They weren't quite as old as me, but pretty close. Up at Parkersburg, West Virginia. And there were a number of people there, not quite as many as here, but there were a number of people there. And I was speaking to that group, hoping that they would encourage their relations, their younger members of their family, to get involved in this country of America, to vote, to get active in their community, take part, do something that we owe something back for all the privileges and benefits we receive that somebody else has made available to us. And that was the theme of what I was talking about. And the thought went flying through my mind, wonder if we have any Gold Star mothers in the group. I was reasonably sure that we did because there was a group of National Guard individuals in the Philippines that were captured. Some of them were in the death march. Many of them sacrificed their lives. I knew that. So I was sure we had some Gold Star mothers in the group, and we did. But 8 or 10 raised their hand to say they were a Gold Star mother. So we certainly thanked them for their sacrifice. And I went on, closed my talk out, and we were getting ready to leave. Well, there were photographs taken and autographs done and that sort of thing, and people left the hall, and all except one man who was sitting just a little ways from me. I looked back and saw him and had his head down. And I said to him, "Sir, is there something I can do for you, some way I can help you?" And I got no response. I turned around to get my stuff together to put in my briefcase, and I heard him walking toward me. And I turned around, and there he stood. And tears were flowing down his cheeks. And the only thing he said to me, "Dads cry too." Of all the effort that I'd made, the many talks that I'd given, the many people I had talked to, I had never mentioned Dad. Why? I am one. On the way home that afternoon, I had about a 2-hour drive. And in our capital, on our Capitol grounds, we have a memorial. We call it a Veterans Memorial. And when our legislature passed the law authorizing the memorial, they put a stipulation in that law that said, any names on this memorial will be those whose death happened at the hands of the enemy. In other words, if the person died in any other way, their name was not to be on that wall. Yet, that wall, those pieces of granite, had 11,000 names on it. And we as a state, we as a people of West Virginia, had never done a thing to honor those families who made that sacrifice. I thought of that as I drove through our capital city that day. And I said to myself, we must do something in this state to pay honor and tribute to those families. Happened to be at the time, I was a member of a committee on a veterans cemetery. The cemetery was pretty well finished, and we were, as a committee, trying to decide where we're going to put the flagpole and the administrative building and all that sort of thing. And so I took this idea to that committee. I said, we must do something in this cemetery that will honor those families. Everybody agreed. Why haven't we done this before? But as pretty often happens, when you come up with an idea and voice it, you stick your foot in your mouth and you get the job. And that's exactly what happened. Well, that's a great idea. Let's do that. You design it. It took a while with a lot of help, but we eventually ended up with the memorial that is now 19 of them existing, completed, and dedicated in this great country. 40 some in the process, and this will be, right here on this post, a historic thing that's going to happen tomorrow. This post is going to make history again, because for the first time in this part of the Texas, those families will be recognized and honored. We have several in Texas that are in the process. Texas has 4 state veteran cemeteries. The person in charge of those 4 cemeteries called some time ago to one of my grandsons and said that they wanted the information about Gold Star family memorials because they wanted to put one in each cemetery. So my grandson said, well, are you going to do it monthly or quarterly or yearly, or how are you going to do this? And I said, no, this is Texas. We're going to do them all at one time. And then my grandson said, well, we do furnish $5,000 as a kind of a seed money to raise funds to do that sort of thing. He said, we don't need your money. We just need the information. That's Texas. But I continue to say and emphasize as much as I possibly can, this is not about Woody Williams. It's about them. It's about those over time and in our history have given their life so that when I was born on October the 2nd, 1923, I could inherit my freedom. I couldn't earn it. I couldn't buy it. It was just handed to me as a gem that somebody else had already paid for with their life. It is my prayer that as youth, our future leaders of America, as they come through this place by the thousands, they will be influenced by this memorial and have some appreciation of what it took to give them what they have. I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. I am so blessed just to be a part of it. And I know that there's no way in the world that this could be accomplished without people in a community who perhaps are for the first time recognizing that they do have those among them who have made that sacrifice. Thank you again. I have been treated royally. These folk have just taken wonderful care of us, and it seems like we have made some real good friends. And we're very happy about that. Thank you very much.
Recently, my wife told me about an event in San Angelo. We've heard from a great American. I've looked around. I've seen tonight some Gold Star families that are here. I would like to challenge this group tonight. I think we said that there were $8,000 short of having the amount of money to break ground
For the full,
for the
everything. We've
for
got enough
the full memorial. I'd like, my wife and I are going to challenge the people in this room. We're going to donate $500. I'd like to see how many other people in this room will donate money to finish the memorial that Woody is talking about. So if you will stand up, anybody who will donate $250, $500, $700, $1,000, please stand up right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Everyone back in the back, thank you. If you will come up to talk to Ann later on, we're going to get this thing done. And Woody, thank you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you.
What do you say after that? Thank you, Larry and Mary. Thank you very much. Whew, I don't know if I can go on. As we did last year, we want to recognize our Vietnam veterans that did not get the warmest welcome when they came home. But here tonight at Fort Chadbourne, we want to say how much we appreciate you, and we want to honor you by pinning you. Fort Chadbourne is a partnership with the Department of Defense. We have an eagle pin that we pin you with, and we want to ask all the Vietnam veterans that have not yet been pinned, if you will please make your way to the end of the stage and come up. Woody would like to have the honor of pinning you tonight. So please make your way up here.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on. Come on down.
Garland, Lana, y'all want to come up here too? Okay. And if Bob, would you like to come up and shake hands with them? And is it easier if I?
Welcome home. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Charlie Martin.
Charlie Martin. Charlie Martin. Okay. Rocky J. And I do want to remind you, it's anyone from 1955 to 1975, whether you served on the home front or you were overseas. You need to be up here to be pinned, so please come forward. Jerry Seals.
That's right.
Thank you. Don Griffiths. Glenn Hill. Richard Monk.
Everybody is. That's that pie. Don't leave it laying around. Thank you. Get out. 75.
Yeah. Richard Vaughn. Jack LeWright.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chase Holland.
Thank you very much.
William Dennis. John Shore. John Shore.
Oh, absolutely. I was considered a shoot, no matter what, I remember.
Kelly Jones. Don Brethauer.
Appreciate it. Who are you?
I'm Huey Wackel.
BJ Lee.
Let's have this fun first before we embarrass each other. Woody, I got 51,000 years as Medal of Honor recipient. What's your age? That's your age.
What, you want to know how old I am?
No. I said, what age you as a Medal of Honor recipient?
Oh, what age was I? Yeah, I was 22 and 3 days old.
I was 22 too. No, let's get the whole story.
Oh, boy, here we go.
What day did you receive it?
October 5, 1945.
December the 6th.
December 6,
No, I was 12/6/66.
12/6/66. That's
Yeah.
December the 6th.
Oh.
1945.
Right. How many years have you been recipient?
I don't know. I'm not going to.
A long
It's higher
time.
than my calculator will go.
You don't know. Count on a computer like me. I'm a dodo.
75. 75 years.
Oh! I hang around with her. Excuse me, honey. In Gainesville and
You're in
here.
trouble with your wife.
If y'all didn't know, that's Bob O'Malley.
My fingers aren't as nimble as they once. Yeah, congratulations to you. Thank you. Back when you got your bronze star, it really was.
Thank you. Ed Brown.
Joanne Hale.
Ed Brown.
55 to 58. All right. Tough stuff. Thank you. Come on.
Joanne Hale.
Tough stuff. Yeah. Red man. You good, John? Yes, sir. Well, simplify. I could rob it in there.
Dan Bond.
Dan Vaughn. John Galley.
Boy, that was close.
Can't get that back on, just stick it on.
Tommy Kepke.
Now, this lady says she's not good at this. If anybody wants to master ceremonies,
Oh, thank you.
right here.
Would you, Lana, like to say anything before?
Are you stuck?
Yeah, I'm
You
stuck.
stuck in the
Stuck in
stage?
the middle.
I've heard of that happening. I appreciate my freedom. I appreciate the people who gave me my freedom. Thank you.
We're getting ready to retire the flags tonight. I'm going to ask you to stand for that, and then I am going to ask you to remain at your seats because we do have a surprise following that. I know it's getting a little late, but it's worth the wait. So we're going to retire the flags, and then please remain at your seats. Thank you. All right, we have a surprise for you tonight. And I brought Woody up here with me because I think he knows a little bit more about it than I do. From the Nimitz Museum, we have the guys here with a World War II flamethrower.
Wow!
They're right here.
Well, tell them to come up here.
So they can come up here. But they can come up here if they want to, but they're getting ready to blast that thing.
Oh.
Whole night tonight, so feels good.
Well, so if people can see it, let's have them come up and make a circle. Many people never seen a flamethrower. So could you make a circle up on the stage and then back out? Come back down. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe if we all remain seated, we can see it better, because if everybody stands, there's going to be little short guys like me not going to be able to see it. Very quickly, let me say that if you open it up and let it go, it would last 72 seconds. But we were taught not to do that. We were taught to fire in 2- and 3-second bursts so that we could get more out of a flamethrower. It weighed 70 pounds, and it had in the front of it what we called a match cylinder. It had 5 phosphorus matches in it. That's how the flame was ignited as it left the end of the gun. And in the Marine Corps, you never call a rifle a gun. Ever. I made that mistake once in my life. I'll never do it again. But we can call this a gun. And it has 2 triggers, one to release the fuel, the other to light the match. Yeah.
But wait, there's more. What is that?
That's the way.
75? That's your fuel, right?
Yeah. These are fuel tanks. This is an air tank. This is what gives it its pressure to get out. Yeah.
And it's 80 pounds fully loaded. You don't go anywhere fast.
No, you don't.
On behalf of the National Museum of Civic War,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
for your service.
They have now been declared. They have now been declared inhumane. Why isn't a bomb inhumane? Yeah. But that's true. So they'll not be used again.
And here's the good news. You can buy this, calls the Department of Agriculture, calls that a pear burner. You can't buy this, but you can buy that.
Yeah, I'll be doggone. I didn't know that.
I have not seen any drive-by shootings with one of these yet, but the night's early, right?
Thank you, fellas,
Thank
for
you all.
doing this. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you very much. What?
I make mushrooms to the Boy Scouts. I want that shooting and a mushroom.
Did you get what he said?
This event is the brainchild of Ann. She's the one that put this on. It was very easy to talk about the Gold Star Family Memorial. It was very easy for Fort Chadbourne to participate in the Gold Star Family Memorial. This event and this memorial that's being dedicated tomorrow is Ann's baby. We thank Ann Pate.
One last thing, they said they didn't get the camera shot they wanted, so these guys are gonna do it again. So if any of you wanna stay around and watch it for a second time, they're fixing to fire it again. And if you wanna get some pictures of it, this is your chance. Thank you for coming. I hope you had a wonderful evening.